The American Culture War Iceberg Explained. Today, I have placed almost every single American Culture War battle on an iceberg chart, going from most well-known to least well-known. Everything from well-known things like the newest president and popular political ideologies to obscure things like end-of-the-world predictions and controversial conspiracy theories. This video will be covering layer 1 and layer 2, so stay tuned if you want to see the whole entire thing, guys. People change culture war battles that they're fighting and forget about the last battle they just fought so quickly. You'd think these culture war YouTubers have rapid onset dementia with how much they forget. Like, I genuinely think most of these guys have brain damage. So, half of these battles will finish their time in the spotlight and might as well be at the bottom because TikTok absolutely mollywhopped and beat the brakes off of hundreds of years of brain development and attention span. This video is definitely going to be outdated by the time the final layer drop. GTA 6 will have been released. Christmas will have been abolished by the left. Nikki Haley will finally restored her humanity and not be an undead zombie. And God will come down for the judgment day to judge all of us before I can even finish this video, probably. Any culture war battle that happened after January 26, 2023, the day I started writing this script, will not be eligible for the iceberg because I don't hate myself, and also I'm not gonna go back and retroactively remake layer 1 and 2 in between making parts. Be forewarned, this will be a long one. Pause. But get ready, grab yourself a snack and a glass of orange juice, and try not to type in the comments about how this video is outdated by the final part, because here we go! Layer 1, the tippy top of the iceberg. Nothing to fear. This is a normal person tier. This is for normal people who work at the 7-Eleven or Starbucks and live in Oklahoma. Most of these things, if you bring it up to a normal person, they will mostly understand. So, let's get to our first entry, everybody. Let's get it. Democrats and Republicans. This refers to the two political parties in the United States of America. Well, the two dominant parties. They represent mainly the left and the right of the political spectrum. The Democrats believe that we must keep making progress in our history, innovating and changing society, and breaking down old tradition until we reach a better future for minorities and people who have been oppressed. However, Republicans believe in returning to a past of some sort. It's very different from many Republicans. Republicans, they don't believe that the new means automatically good. Believing that history is a cycle with rises and downfalls, with old tradition that is there for a reason. These two philosophies define American politics and the culture war. Gamergate. If you're talking about the internet culture war, then this is essential. It's inevitable, like Thanos and like death. But not taxes if you're rich. Was this a movement about ethics and journalism? From what I've seen, there's no goal, no plan, no specific policy, but it became really big, especially amongst the online right, as things were changing in gaming that people really did not like, but some people really did like. A rising controversy within the gaming community. The reason it became really big was a rumor that a journalist by the name of Zoe Quinn bribed journalists into giving her game good reviews by bribing them with specialty favors, and people got mad at the corruption that was taking place. So started the Gamergate controversy, rising to unimaginable heights that were before never seen in online discourse, causing ethics and journalism discussions to happen sometimes on the internet. But later Zoe Q did do, that rhymed, something unforgivably heinous that will be mentioned much later in the Iceberg. A new wave of journalists came in and demanded that their politics be put in the game, and people objected. It's a rare fight because people still bring it up to this day, even with our TikTok-addled attention spans. 2016 was good, man. You know, being 8 was a kind of baller. It was kind of kosher being 8. Woke. In 2024, this is used as a political buzzword to describe something aggressively or excessively leftist, or at least something seen that way. I'm not very woke, I guess you could say. I'm anti-woke, considering I'm writing this at midnight and recording this at past midnight, near 1 in the morning. Get it? This fun. This word has its origins in the Black Civil Rights Movement, to refer to waking up to the struggle of black people. That's what it meant previously, before its modern usage over the internet and in most culture war discussions. January 6th. January 6th refers to an event where people suspicious of the 2020 election, they stormed the Capitol, even trying to steal assorted objects like podiums and the like. Former President Donald Trump was suspected of inciting these riots due to comments made before the storming of the Capitol about how the election could be rigged. This was reported as democracy falling apart, and people got more wary of the right because of this event. People like, oh, he was probably at Jan 6. You know, I predict after a 2024 election, no matter who wins, there's gonna be a bigger and deadlier January 6th. Like, around, like, after the 24 election, there's gonna be, like, 20 bodies after the 2024 election, I predict. The mask mandate debate. In 2020, due to apathy syndrome, it was mandated that when you go to work or the grocery store, you wear a face mask. At first, it was just a simple medical mask, and masks you were recommended to wear kept changing. It was 2 masks, then it went back to 1 mask, then red masks, blue masks, and more. I wasn't personally that mad about it, since it wasn't like asking much. Then the debate had risen from the ground, with one side saying you should stack masks like pancakes even inside your house, even while eating. And there's another side saying that masks make you gay and you should spit on people so that the government couldn't control you. I was a moderate on the issue, clearly. But now the debate is not being attended to because, well, lockdowns are over, much to the chagrin of those in power. They're out to get you and you're being followed, and they're putting poison in the food. There are still some control freaks who want to comment lockdown though because the summer. So, next entry. BLM. The movement began in July 2013 after the acquittal of George Zimmerman for causing the demise of Trayvon Martin. A movement raised demanding justice for black people on this Black History Month. And then there was a corporation, specifically known as BLM, that swiftly got corrupted by cash. Instead of giving back community, it went to mansions, but the ideology and movement of BLM still remains, still is standing strong to this day, despite the corrupt corporation. They joined the class they swore to fight against. The fate of the Revolutionary Corporation. I remember there being a communist thinker that said, oh yeah, they're gonna monopolize and sow capitalism into the revolution. I assume he was talking about like those Che Guevara t-shirts that were made in like a Chinese sweatshop, monopolizing the revolution through capitalist means. There is a difference between the movement of BLM and the corporation known as BLM. The corporation has faults and needs to be addressed. Don't watch Candace Owens for more information about it though. Unless you have like fatal insomnia and you need a cure, her show will have you knocked out like you fighting Kazuma Kiryu on this. Go play Yakuza. Pronouns in the workplace. This entry refers to stuff like pronoun badges in the workplace and the stating of pronouns becoming prominent in workplace email. This is not the end of pronoun things on this iceberg. There's a lot much more about it, but it just had to be mentioned on the top layer since this is the Culture War iceberg. On to the next entry. Already? Really? Yes. This is dumb. The Trevor Foundation. The iceberg image I used for this video, I had made this entry listed as the Trevor Foundation instead of, or the Trevor Project instead of the Trevor Foundation, because I have stage 10 dementia. I just unlocked 3 stages by getting an S rank on stage 7 of dementia. Y'all talking about late dementia? I got post-game dementia. Oh, this is an organization meant to stop LGBT children from facing ultimate demise at their own hand. The organization started in 1991 after release a short film about a kid named Trevor who was gay and tries to womp himself. Then the filmmakers found out that nobody else tried to do what they did, starting a hotline for these specific people. And that's how the Trevor Foundation began. This corporation would get into controversy from time to time. For example, when they collaborated with Sam Burton, a no creep, who we will get to that guy later on the iceberg. I would say take a drink for every time I say, well, this appears later in the iceberg. You'd be dead. You're already dead. Outside of that, the Trevor Foundation has managed to stay relatively clean compared to the BLM organization. Hey, I'm doing an Italian accent for this one. Good morning, America. It's an American news channel as in the morning. It's very basic and can put you back to sleep with how much nobody cares about this beautiful show. It means leans left in case you were wondering, which I bet you weren't. Who even watches normal news stations when tubers like Moha, like yours dearly, do it with much funnier jokes and sometimes less corporate donations dictating what they say. Some could even say, nothing compares. The only people watching those news stations are those who reminisce about the Precambrian explosion, the age where they were growing up. Also watch Ryan Georgie's video on their morning show host if they were not morning people. It's so funny. It's not pizza time anymore. The next century get punched there. Marvel. Yeah, it's Marvel, baby. Marvel is an entertainment company specializing in comic books and movies. They do have a big role in the American culture war. This is done by using leftist themes in their work like Mary Sue's and other leftist symbols. The strategy was to put a strong female character in the film and hide behind misogynistic nerd culture ruining our films. Until every leftist content creator said, yeah, this is awful storytelling and I do not care that you agree with me. They can't hide behind buzzwords and now Marvel is tumbling down. This is why My Hero Peakademia and One Peak Man will rise. Tucker Carlson, yes, I'm doing this in a Tucker Carlson voice, was a Fox News host before getting fired in 2023 because Fox News was drifting leftward and also losing money. He was known for saying out-of-pocket things and being very adept in dry humor, which many people loved. Tucker Carlson is a central piece of meme culture in political corners of the internet. There was the Green M&M, the Canada Workshop teacher, and the Tucker Carlson QuickTime event meme, and the It's Over meme. My favorite Tucker Carlson moment was when he introduced Japanese adult entertainment to your grandma and many grandmas around America when he was talking about the workshop teacher. I love being alive for reasons like this. Donald J. Trump. He was the first, last US president. As of writing this, I'm keeping that in. He was a Republican, a huge Republican, known for being flashy and a talking pig. This has gotten him into various controversies, but has won some favor with people who really like that personality. His most famous huge policy was building a wall over Mexican border to stop illegal immigration, which did not work at all. And it looks like he be the most popular Republican for 2024. This is the worst ballot in American history. Or maybe I'm just more woke now, awakened to the realities of politics. Joe Biden! Joe Biden is the current U.S. president at the time of writing this. He is a Democrat, known for being, forgetful, and the desecration of his, mind. Barely being able to mentally function. This got into various controversy, but has won some favorites. Those who are loyal to the Democratic Party. His most famous ordeal is inflation due to misallocation of government spending. Seems like nobody likes Joe Biden. I guess you could say it's just a burning presidency. Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is the current vice president to Joe Biden. She is known for being an African American woman in a high place in government, getting high praise for representation. Fun fact, Joe Biden one day had going for a surgery, and for a little bit, Kamala Harris was the acting president for the day. She does tend to say a lot of word salad though, and she's not that great at public speaking, but outside of that has managed to dodge controversy by, well, not even playing the game. Lol. Pride Progress Flag. This is a reference to the many changes in LGBT Pride Flag. Going from a simple rainbow to black and brown, being added to collaborate with the Black Civil Rights Movement, then the transcultural ride, then the intersex symbol, and then they even tried adding the Ukraine flag before realizing that's a terrible idea, since gay marriage is illegal over there in Ukraine. They also tried making some weird kaleidoscope version of flag, so yeah, on to the next one. Finally, the final entry of Layer 1, Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg is a prominent host of The View, a show very similar to Good Morning America, but with a more gossipy tone to it. She leans to the far left and gives her opinion on recent events in the show The View. She also has some questionable opinions on the Hololive, believing it to be simple white-on-white violence, which, no! The Hololive was not white-on-white violence. You can look this up. She said that. Okay, don't shoot me. I'm just a messenger. I'm just a messenger, dog. Well, that was a strange note to end Layer 1 off with. Hopefully, everything here was understandable for most normal people, and you already know this. It's common knowledge that everybody knows about, but going deeper, things are about to get a lot more obscure and a lot more darker, especially in later parts, so I really want you to see the next video that comes out in like a few weeks. Granted, Layer 2 has a lot of things people know about, but people might not fully get the subject, you know? So, let's head to Layer 2, boys! Layer 2, Into the Water of Knowledge. These have more fun facts people do not know. This will be the fun facts layer. I hope you will appreciate as we approach the second half of part 1. As numerically complicated, but I don't care, bro. Let's get through this. There's very big culture war battles that are just only mildly old, so you might have forgotten all about them. So let's get this! Velma HBO. This is a show made by HBO that rhymed about Velma from Scooby-Doo. Kind of. It was barely even a Scooby-Doo show. It has the same names and like a few references to the old show.
He called the program the Special Covert Operations Brain Initiative, or Scooby.
Scooby? And wait, what did Scooby...
To quote Ryan George, they have the same clothes and most of their names. It was meant to deconstruct Scooby-Doo when, 1, there isn't much to deconstruct, and 2, you didn't deconstruct it. You just did the genre worse and add more swears to the original product. Here's a fact for you. The official definition for deconstructing in media is when you take a genre or something of the sort and you take apart its tropes, trying to be subversive with the tropes that you've been given in order to figure out what makes these tropes work and what doesn't make them work. Velma did not try anything subversive. We've had 1,000 shows like this. Like, for example, the first one that comes off the top of my head is Big Mouth, which for some reason has 7 seasons. 7 seasons. Yes, Big Mouth and 13 Reasons Why got more than 3 seasons, while Yokai Watch barely even got 3, with the third one taking forever to get localized to America. We do not live in a just world. We live in Crazy Town. Society is over. It's Jover. It's Yuki Cover. Velma, it was less funny than bombing an orphanage. And nobody liked it. Not even hardcore shills. Yeah, that's a fun fact. Not even like the bootlicking leftist journalists loved it. Not even them. They're like, again, I know you agree with everything we say, but you're still not a good watch if you're watching it without, making fun of it with the boys, which I might do that with my friends later this week or next week. Some people speculate if Velma was a secret right-wing parody of reboots, updated for a modern audience. Shout out to those who got the reference I just made. So, like, it even looks like Babylon Bee's animation style. Like, if you just took it and said, oh yeah, this is made by Babylon Bee, I believe you. I believe you. That's how you know Velma was truly something. It'll take like 4 years to get the next Velma. Season 2 isn't coming out because nobody actually liked it. Yeah, there are a lot of people saying, oh, you hate watchers gave it the second season. No, it was Scooby-Doo. It was gonna get like a second season. Well, the first one was already in production. Something that everybody could come together to hate. There's so much division. Left, right, man, woman, white, black. But everybody came together in harmony to just dog on Velma. It was like, it rekindled my humanity, to use a Dark Souls reference. So, if you aren't getting to season 2, good riddance, Velma. On to the next entry. Rings of Power. I'm doing this in an Australian accent. Rings of Power is a prequel to the Lord of the Rings that aired on Amazon Prime and sparked a culture war debate about Mary Sue's and its protagonist, Galadriel. The people were starting to grow really tired of this protagonist on the debate, as if this was bad writing or if everybody was just being a sexist. I haven't seen the show, but from what I've seen, Galadriel isn't offensively bad like some would have you believe, so you can click the thumbnails, huh? From what I've seen, Galadriel's boring, huh? The rest of the Rings of Power also looks like a snooze fuss, boy. Fun fact, I've read The Hobbit while laying outside. It was kind of enjoyable. It's been tearing up my throat. Hey, yo, pause. It's been tearing up my throat. Star Wars. We all know what Star Wars is. A sci-fi action series that's been around for like a long time. There are various culture war battles that have erupted over this exact franchise. This will not be in chronological order though. Rey is introduced to the franchise and is identified as a Mary Sue, and debates are had if she is one or not. Fans were also upset over disrespect of the previous protagonist, Luke Skywalker. Next one, various debates were had as to whether the ideas Kathleen Kennedy introduced to the franchise were good or not, with progressive journalists saying that Kathleen Kennedy was doing the right thing and that you're just a bigot, with most other Star Wars fans, even John Green, saying, yeah, this wasn't good. Most people had a feeling that, the sequel trilogy just wasn't right, but most kept their heads down and just consumed it. Yeah, that'll be a theme from here on out. People recognizing that this is terrible, but we're just gonna keep our heads down and consume. Ayo, pause! She-Hulk show. This was a show made by Marvel and aired on Disney+. It's about Hulk's relative, who is a lawyer and a superhero both at once. The series attracted some spicy controversy after a scene where Jennifer Walters, the real name is She-Hulk, complained to the Hulk, saying that her life of getting catcalled and being mansplained to is worse than what Hulk went through. Everybody agreed with her, and that ended the discussion. Just kidding. Everybody was livid about this. Marvel lore heads went absolutely crazy roasting this scene, dog. It's like Christmas had come early, listing every single inconvenience happening again. Like, oh yeah, Hulk was hunted down by the entire military, brainwashed, depending on the writer. And one time at McDonald's, a chef forgot his pickles on his Big Mac. This happened in is seen in the Old Testament, Job, verse 29. Also, he has gay. It was an absolute blast of a controversy. I loved it. It was one of my favorite culture war battles. Disney live action. This entry on Iceberg refers to the wave of live action downgrades old Disney movies have been getting. It makes money because people don't care about anything, you see. These movies look rancid. These movies aren't getting beat with the ugly stick. These are getting shot by the ugly AK-47. Rainbow capitalism. Rainbow capitalism is the act of appealing to the gay, bisexual, trans, lesbian community for the sake of profit, thus its name. Rainbow capitalism. Examples of this would be issuing a statement of support to the community and changing our profile to picture to the rainbow flag in Pride Month, except for in Middle Eastern countries and China. Corporations quieted down with rainbow capitalism after the infamous Bud Light boycott. This is taking tasting the rainbow a bit too far, I guess. Maybe Skittles was patient zero of going woke. It did have a rainbow color scheme. Drag Queen Story Hour. This is referring to the discourse of drag queens reading to kids at the local libraries. It all started with just that, right? Until it slowly escalated to kids being taken to a gay bar with a sign on it saying it's not going to lick itself. We can all debate on where the line is. We can debate until the cows come home. We can debate it until Persona 10 releases, or the moon ends, or something. I don't care much for that. But we can say the line was crossed here at the gay bar with the "it's not gonna lick itself" line and the kids. We can all agree it was crossed here. I don't even think that's a conservative opinion. I don't think I'm being conservative by saying that. I'm just being rational. I'm just being not crazy. Like when did it become alt-right to say, hey, let's not take kids to gay bars? Let's not do that. Oh, there was no alcohol. It was still a gay bar with a sign on it saying it's not going to lick itself. Oh, it was about ice cream. Well, that's in a different context when you put it in the scenario it is in. When I told my grandma about the situation, she outright just didn't believe me, because that's how crazy these leftists have gotten, to the point that when you tell people about their exploits, they won't even think you're telling the truth. Because of how crazy these exploits have gotten. Leftists point to child marriages, and conservatives point to stuff like this. I think both sides share an equal amount of EDPs. Okay, there are an equal amount of EDPs on both sides. If one thing is bipartisan, I think we have to read this. It's like a new boys and booty shorts went to the bus stop. Where did my life go? I'm making videos about Drag Queen Story Hour at 3 a.m. The witching hour. Other teenagers are out at parties, getting drunk. I'm talking about men in skirts at 3 in the morning. We can all do both sides. Atheism Plus. This is not the name of a niche streaming service, or I guess you could say niche-ski streaming service. Shout out to all the philosophy nerds out there. This is the name of the new atheism movement. One that isn't just about not believing in a god. It's about intersectionality and challenging the norms of the old world. You know, deconstructing Christian values. Basically atheism, but more political, you know? Vosh. Vosh is a leftist streamer and communist political streamer, or socialist, more accurately. He does debates, reactions, and more on Twitch. He's quite a controversial figure on the platform, with some seeing him as lying and cheating manipulator. Try kicking the video I'm putting up on screen. If you want more information, click the link in the description. Not gonna lie, his avatar looks kind of cool. Also, don't look up the Vosh files. Don't look up the Vosh files. Don't. Hassan Abi is another leftist political streamer that does debates, reactions, and more. He's known for being a socialist who fights valiantly for the working class, never giving in to bourgeoisie capitalism. He always fights the big studio fat cats with honesty and strength and valiance. He never falters. He never contradicts his word. Show Hassan Abi contradicting everything. I said, oops, I was reading my stage directions again. Silly me. This guy is known for being faker than a funhouse mirror. He is about as respected in the debate community as AM from I Have No Mouth, but I Must Scream is respected in the competitive eating community. There is nothing wrong with owning a mansion and a luxury car. I want to do that. I would want to own a mansion, okay? And I'm not faulting you for wanting that. But that comes at the cost of not being able to be a socialist revolutionary. Okay? you can't speak on that. You can't be with us. I could own an iPhone 14 or 15, but then I wouldn't be able to say, man, I'm rebelling against the crowd, man. I'm not an NPC for the crowd, man. Because, well, I owned an iPhone 15, and that automatically gets you downgraded to a non-playable character. Real main characters own a Samsung and Androids. Okay? That's what the main character has. If you own a Samsung, you're the main character. Yes, you're cool and based and red pilled. Ben Shapiro is a conservative commentator known for his podcast about the latest news and our culture. Occasionally doing panels and debates, getting a reputation for being a debater, or could you say a master debater. He earned himself a place in meme culture, with memes imitating his voice, like I am doing right now. Facts don't care about your feelings. The bull. And parodying his debate style to comedic effect. At the time I wrote this, he just released a new rap and made an astroturfing to further ideological agendas. Begin! John Fetterman. John Fetterman is a Democrat politician who advocates for healthcare becoming a basic human right. He wants to reform the criminal justice system and abolish the death penalty. That's a general summary of John Fetterman. He also has severe brain damage and has been known for stuttering and messing up countless times during debate. Forgot to mention that during the script. But here we are. He even said hello, goodbye during a meeting, which, I don't know, maybe he just had social anxiety, you know? He's just a quirky little bean who's going to free thousands of criminals who have been convicted out into the streets. Also, when somebody says healthcare is a human right, what I hear, in my opinion, is them appealing to Thomas Jefferson's view on human rights derived from John Locke. Thomas Jefferson believed that life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness were basic human values, inalienable from humans, for they were bestowed upon us from God. Making healthcare free appeals to life and the pursuit of happiness. Then the argument follows that if they are our human rights, then they need to be protected with the power of free healthcare. I disagree, however. I don't think it should be free, in my opinion, because the consequences wouldn't be worth it. Taxes would go up, and the American people are being strangled with how much money they can spend. As seen in Canada, the healthcare system gets very slow under socialized healthcare. I should research more about it. Maybe I can get schooled by somebody who's like very well read on the healthcare debate in the comment section. Alright. Game theory controversies. Game theory. Matt Pat's leaving soon, but over his long career he has had many controversies. There were many. So, I'll just list a few quickly. Heartbound. He called the game the next Undertale even though it hadn't come out yet, and he did not provide a link to the game in the description, and people got mad over this nothing burger. Teddy's used Shadow. It's a poorly constructed theory that contradicts many points of lore in Persona 4 Golden. He also says Elizabeth was welcome attendant instead of Margaret by accident, and he didn't even play the game. Which video game character would survive the virus? He made a video about which characters would do well in the quarantine. Some people found it insensitive, while I and many others found a good way to survive measles and smallpox while combating misinformation about the disease. That's all I'm willing to cover. You can check out more if you want, but you won't find all of it here because it is a lot of controversies Matt Pat has gotten himself into. PTA school board meetings. This references concerned parents going to school meetings and talking about the political and controversial content in the school libraries. This ranged from actual complaints to the book Lawn Boy being in children's library. That will be covered much deeper down the iceberg, but just know it is something that should not be in a kid's library. But there are also just nothing burgers, like parents getting upset at gay teachers just coming out. I agree that you shouldn't do that. It's irrelevant information, but fired? I question that. Some people latched on to one of the two examples and just ran a mile with it. The left's narrative is that teachers getting hunted down just for being gay, and there was no merit to the opposing team in their concerns. The right's narrative is that the local children's library was becoming a physical version of the hub. This eventually escalated into the Florida Parental Rights Bill. It takes 11 minutes to read and is widely available, but you won't read it. Probably. But if you don't want to read the whole thing, I will tell you, as somebody who read the whole thing twice, unlike what you have been told, it does not ban being gay from school, like what the left or right would tell you about this bill. It only commands that when LGBT culture is being taught in schools, it is taught at a grade and age appropriate level, only lasting until grade 5. Then you can talk about all the gay stuff you want. This also gives parents the ability to opt out of reproduction education, from what I remember, or at least something like that. Some people have drawn comparisons between this cultural event and the satanic panic of the 90s. I disagree with that, but I get where they're coming from. And also, Segway 100. Satanic Panic. This was a cultural moment in the 90s where video games, especially violent video games like Mortal Kombat, were coming into the mainstream and people got scared. People were claiming this was because games were the spawn of Satan, especially Pokemon, for example. The famous "Wah" meme came out of an anti-Pokemon pastor. One guy even claimed that Jigglypuff was a tool of the devil, meant to steal children away from Christ. And Jigglypuff wants to sentence everybody to eternal damnation and torture. Honestly, I, as somebody who played Super Smash Bros. Ultimate competitively, I agree. Jigglypuff is a tool of Satan. Down special isn't much to deal with. You just play the game normally, and you suddenly die because of down special. With how many jumps this pink pain has, she must be near 99% to kill. Oh, you think she's just gonna have 2 normal jumps and a good recovery? No, she's gonna have 6 jumps, and her up special is gonna put you to sleep, which is very fun to deal with. So for these reasons, I agree that Jigglypuff is a tool of satanic torture and worship. And also, oh, here's a fun fact about the violent video game craze of the 90s. They made a special Mortal Kombat arcade machine without any of the blood and guts. And guess what? It barely made a single penny. Because why? When you take away the blood and guts, Mortal Kombat is a mid-Jackie Chan ripoff, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate better. It's better. Get wrecked. Alright, time to flap gums again. The Cold War. The Cold War was an indirect battle between the world's 2 superpowers at the time after World War II, America and the Soviet Union. This was done by getting smaller nations to fight each other instead of fighting head-on, as seen in the Korean and Vietnam War. The indirect combat was done because the 2 nations had a lot of explosives and could end the world if a full-on direct conflict between the US, the United States, and the USSR, the Soviet Union. The US also tried to stop the spread of communism through the method of detainment, not encroaching on communist nations while also preventing communism from spreading because, well, America was freedom and capitalism was freedom. Communism was totalitarian dictatorship. And after World War II, there was a prevalent fear of authoritarianism and fascist regimes after World War II, started partially because the rise of a certain Austrian painter a hizzy, I'm getting canceled, became the most infamous authoritarian ever. Part of the Cold War was a cultural war between capitalism and communism. The government sponsored media that promoted capitalism to fight communism. You were very judged if you criticized the admittedly non-perfect America, because a lot of people were suspected of being communist spies. A very specific, very famous person we'll cover in around part 3. Trying to get secrets. This added paranoia of spies that could nuke you at any moment. The mindset throughout the entire Cold War was that you can die. Humanity can die any second. You could be eating toast with your cat, and all of humanity could cease to exist. No matter what you do, you couldn't stop the end to the world as you knew it. And that added a lot of paranoia to this war, or as John Green, a really good historian who made Crash Course US History, World History, and European History, which you should really check out, especially if you're taking either of the 3 courses in high school or college. He classified the Cold War as an era because of how long the Cold War spreaded. And since it was a cultural war, that's why it's on the iceberg. Alright, on to some more history with the Civil War. Listen, we need to have a Ronald and Reagan, Robert E. Lee salad. We need to talk about that first, so it can make a lot more sense when we can finally eat our Astolfo and Rin cake. And I worded that poorly. My bad. On to the Civil War. The Civil War. The American Civil War was a war over slavery and whether it should be present in America. A fight between the Union and the Confederacy. The first major battle was at Fort Sumter in April of 1861 and ending at the surrender at the Appomattox Courthouse at April 9th, 1865. Despite all the ways, the North was better than the South. With the help of Robert E. Lee and his tactics, the South really had the North pinned against the wall. For the first half of the war, it seemed like the Confederacy would have won if it wasn't for the Battle of Gettysburg putting the South on its back foot. Then, from there, it was history. This is your quick refresher on the American Civil War. Anime versus comic books. This refers to the ongoing war between the titular, anime versus comic books. Less and less people are getting into comic books, and more people are getting into manga and anime. This is because the Western MCU is starting to get more and more tropey, and, it's starting to become less profitable. Wojak memes. A Wojak meme is a meme that uses an amateurly drawn black and white painting or caricature of a specific archetype of a person to make a joke. Examples of Wojaks are the soy Wojak. They are meant to depict a wide range of things. The soy Wojak started out as just a parody of vegans on a fitness board, but then it was meant to represent leftists, eventually being reclaimed by the left to make fun of conservatives, specifically incels, and the image of the soy jack kept meaning more and more things until the soy jack just became the guy I disagreed with. Then there's the inverse of the soy Wojak, the Chad Wojak. He is meant to represent the guy you're supposed to agree with in the meme, with the trait of the Chad being making his points extremely simple to be understandable to the consumer of this meme. The next example is the Doomer Wojak. The Doomer Wojak is meant to represent people who have given up on life due to depressing and despairing circumstances. It has become more relatable over time, especially over the pandemic. Wojak memes are widely used on the internet to depict the different types of people that use it and to make jokes about that. So, that is a quick Khan Academy on Wojaks. Summer 2020 riots. This refers to riots that took place in 2020 where various buildings and businesses were burned down. As the news downplayed the occurring events, what did not help people is that they were locked inside their houses, and while they were inside, they were getting told the most awful news and got the go-ahead to burn things down. The reason why this was happening because of the killing of George Floyd at the hands of Derek Chauvin, trying to buy cigarettes with a fake $20 bill, and his neck was kneeled on until he, passed away. Although he had a high amount of fentanyl in his system, it is concluded that Derek Chauvin was the main cause of him not being with us anymore. And then a lot of people went crazy, and people seriously debated if burning down small businesses was a good thing. What's sad is that these businesses were moving out of these very permissive cities and creating food deserts. Like, a lot of people were just taking advantage of this tragedy of George Floyd. Like, oh yeah, this is totally for George Floyd, while they get a smart TV. Like, you aren't doing anything to prevent this from happening. You're just trying to get a TV for free, and that is very disgusting that you take advantage of this very horrific tragedy in order to benefit yourself. So, yeah. That's layer 2 finished, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I want you to like and subscribe, because it's only free 99 to subscribe. It takes less time to like and subscribe than just taking a sip of water. It has no cost, no negative, so why wouldn't you? And it pushes the algorithm so that you can be a part of this growing channel, as your decision counts a lot, and you can exercise your own free will. That is also the end of part 2. Come back in 2 weeks and 4 days on the dot for part 2, where we will cover layer 3 and 4, and things will heat up considerably. Matt Walsh, Yakuza, Ron DeSantis, the Epstein flight logs, government officials are being violently assaulted, a controversy all about a murder mystery plot twist, even more. So stay tuned and come back in 2 weeks and 4 days. That's right, 2 weeks, 4 days. Everybody, peace!